let's do an NFL cornerstone draft where we kind of go back and forth and we each pick 5 guys to start a franchise with. I think the top 10 quarterbacks are probably more valuable than any other player in the league.
Of course.
I didn't want to do that. I thought that would be a boring. It'd basically just be a quarterback ranking show. So I have a couple quarterbacks I'll draft for sure, but I also have some of these other cornerstone pieces. So why don't you start us off though, Joe?
Well, you want me to go first? So wait, if you go second, does that mean you snake? Are you going back to back? So you're going to go picks 2 and 3, or are we going back and forth alternating the whole way through?
Since we're doing 10 different teams, I don't think we need a snake.
All right, just want to make sure because like you're just handing me over the number 1 pick, and it's like that seems too easy. It seems way too easy, but I'll take it. What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
All right, we got a fun game planned for you guys today. We're gonna do a cornerstone NFL draft type thing. But before we do that, there is some I shouldn't say breaking news. There's some news to get to. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, since last time we talked to you guys, they both signed big deals. Waddle came in as a high-end wide receiver too, basically, next to Tyreek. And then Justin Jefferson completely reset the wide receiver market. Like, significant jump. Outside of I don't think we get sticker shock anymore, right? Because it's like, right. that is what happens. People, the next best guy always resets the market. So what was your initial thought on Jefferson though?
Well, my first thought was, did he get the $35 million APY that I was anticipating? He did. So the money came in exactly where I thought it would. My mind didn't really stay thinking about Jefferson. I'm comfortable with him and the fit in Minnesota, the long-term outlook, how much of an asset he's going to be to JJ McCarthy with Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkins. All of that's great. My mind went to Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb.
Exactly.
And while I think for those parties, CeeDee Lamb and Jamar Chase, allowing Jefferson to get his done first is great for them, bad for the teams, right? Like, to me, you had an opportunity to get this done and give them their moment in the sun where they get to be the highest paid receiver in the history of the league. And now that's complicated. Now that's very, very complicated because I don't know that they're better than Jefferson. So my mind went to Lamb and Chase and kind of the domino effects there.
For sure. And the thing with Lamb, so you've had a couple insiders now say that they expect Lamb to slot in just under the Jefferson deal. I don't see that. I think Adam Kaplan just said that on a recent show yesterday, maybe when the news broke. I don't know that that's true. I think Jefferson got the high end of the reset, and I think Lamb might go for $35 million and $1 AAV. Wow. You know what I mean?
Wow. I mean, he's got a case, man. He's got a heck of a case.
Especially you stack just the career numbers on next to each other. They're close. But if you look at last 20 games, I think I mentioned that when we had the wide receiver discussion, CeeDee Lamb blows him out of the water, really.
Where does Chase fit into that for you now?
Well, Chase has missed more time than both those guys with the injuries. So I think that's kind of the bummer there. I think the efficiency numbers for Chase are right there with those guys. So he's and arguably his tape might, very well be more impressive than those two guys. So pedigree too, 5th overall pick. I think that factors. So
I think for the Waddle piece of this conversation, he's getting paid a lot of money, right? 28.5, right? So he's knocking on the door of that $30 million. I think he deserves it. He's a great young player. Where it gets interesting is now you have this Tyreek Hill dynamic where, he's going to hold out of mandatory camp and force the needle. And it's to me, that's complicated. It's very complicated. Where Tyreek Hill has been the highest paid receiver in the NFL. He was the first $30 million guy. He's got 3 years left on his deal. To me, that's a really fascinating situation that Chris Greer is going to have to navigate through.
Tyreek wasn't just the first 30 million receiver. Wasn't he the first 30 million non-QB period?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's true. And then you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Tyreek is on record saying he didn't want to play past age 30. Well, he's 30 right now, brother.
Right.
That's conflicting. I feel like a team has to weigh that to some extent. Are we really going to load up a Brinks truck of signing bonus again?
And Dolphins needed cap space. They didn't touch his contract, right? There's plenty of restructure opportunities with it.
For sure.
So,
that could make him happy, though, actually. Tack a couple void years, kick some of the base salary into signing bonus. He gets his check today instead of tomorrow. He might like that. He might be into that.
Yeah, I think they should take some of their future money that's owed to him, put it this year. He gets a bump, and then not touch that contract and remain flexible with your ability to get out of the deal or flip him or whatever you want to do. Because I mean, let's be real, man. Like, they're going to pay Tua over $50 million a season. Are you going to have two $30 million wide receivers? You know, like, that's kind of what Philly has, but they've been fortunate to be able to kind of stagger those cap hits in a way that makes somewhat level of sense for them. I'm not sure if Miami's going to have that same opportunity because they're all due now.
Yeah.
The difference is Philly, those guys were like staggered in terms of years that those deals came through. And then, you know, for you could work with 50-year options and things like that with Smith, but that's not really there for Miami.
Yep. I kind of randomly had this idea. There's been like, you know, we're in off-season content mode, so there's a lot of companies producing content, you know, top 10 player list, top 20 player list, top 25 under 25 list. So I was like, you know what? Why don't you and I, we love talking roster construction. We love talking, you know, tape breakdowns. Let's do an NFL cornerstone draft where we kind of go back and forth and we each pick 5 guys to start a franchise with. And I thought I would bless you with the first pick, Joe. So I don't know. What was your process when you made your list too? I think that's important to know.
Well, so what I did is I went through and I considered every single team and I thought about who their best player is or who their best players are. And if I would consider them, right, if they would like very strongly, yes, this person should be in that conversation, I put them on a list. And that got me to 16 players.
Okay.
And then I went from 16 down to 10 because we're going to draft 10 players. And I need to make sure that I have, you know, the ability to just follow my board. So I'm going to follow my board. Also keeping in mind here that we're not starting one franchise each, right? These are in order of, if I guess, assuming we had 10 different franchises that we were starting, because obviously, my first, I don't want to give away my board, but there's a lot of quarterbacks, right? I'm going to draft multiple quarterbacks here. So just kind of clarifying that from the open here, that this is not, I'm not starting 5 different teams, or I'm starting 5 different teams, not one.
Right. So here's my process was similar. I kind of looked at through the NFL. Obviously, age is a big part of this, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
I factored age pretty significantly. With quarterback, a little bit less, you know, especially because like the Mahomes tier, all those guys are roughly the same. I shouldn't say Mahomes tier. He's in his own tier. The next tier with Mahomes, they're all kind of the same age, like Burrow, Josh Allen. I think Herbert might be like a year younger than those guys, but Mahomes, they're all right in that like 28, 29 range.
Yeah.
I think Burrow and Josh Allen are like 5 months apart in age. Like it's pretty marginal. I did something opposite to you though. I didn't want to go all like, because if the analytics guy in me, I would just take 10 quarterbacks in a row, probably. I think the top 10 quarterbacks are probably more valuable than any other player in the league.
Of course.
I didn't want to do that. I thought that would be a boring, it'd basically just be a quarterback ranking show. So I have a couple quarterbacks I'll draft for sure, but I also have some of these other cornerstone pieces. So why don't you start us off though, Joe?
Well, you want me to go first? So wait, if you go second, does that mean you snake? Are you going back to back? So are you going to go picks 2 and 3, or are we going back and forth alternating the whole way through?
Since we're doing 10 different teams, I don't think we need a snake.
All right, I just want to make sure, because like you're just handing me over the number 1 pick, and it's like that seems too easy. It seems way too easy, but I'll take it because I'm going to get the guy that won 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls, has been to 6 consecutive conference championship games as a starting quarterback. It's Patrick Mahomes. That's the answer. I don't think that there's another option. If you're starting a team, the guy you want is Patrick Mahomes.
I think that's the easy pick, and I didn't want to make the easy pick because I wanted to sit here on the clock and ponder.
Oh, number 2 is easy too, Brett Whitefield.
Is it?
Oh, it's easy.
Does he play in Buffalo?
He sure does.
Yeah.
You're out your mind if you don't pick Josh Allen right now.
So, you know, I'm known as an avid Josh Allen hater. I will say that.
Are you really?
Kinda.
I didn't know this.
Well, it only comes back to my pre-draft take on him, which I've.
Oh, well, you don't have to cling to those priors. There's no information.
I don't cling to those priors, but people still hold me to those priors.
Oh, who cares? Move on.
Yeah. So, I will take Josh Allen here. I did consider another quarterback, who's a lot younger, and I'm sure he'll get drafted in these top 10. But Josh Allen is, you talk about guys that can absolutely take over a game and you win because of, I think I've described how I like to sort quarterbacks. Like you have a tier of guys you can win because of, guys you can win with, a good circumstances, and then guys that you kind of have to, prop them up quite a bit. I think Josh Allen is in that top tier of like, we can win because of this guy. So there's not many of those guys out there. And I think he absolutely is the next best guy to Mahomes. He can take over a fourth quarter and win you ball games down the stretch. So he would be my second pick.
His defense needs to show up in the playoffs. I'll tell you that. Okay, that means I have the third pick. I'm going Joe Burrow, man.
Yeah.
I think Joe Burrow is so good. And the only concern I have about Joe Burrow, and it's a legitimate one, is that he's had injuries literally every single year. But I think in this world of NFL football, where you're getting too high shells and they're daring quarterbacks to be patient and do the smart right thing with the football, nobody does the smart right thing with the football with more accuracy in the NFL than Joe Burrow. Like he is that dude, man. And that scheme doesn't help him. That's just true. That's classic West Coast scheme, bro. There's very little play action. And I've heard Zach Taylor talk about that, where he's like, I don't know, like we think Joe Burrow's an elite processor in terms of understanding coverage rotations. And so we don't want to put his back to the defense very often. Like, all right, that's pretty compelling. But point being, there's nothing cheap, man. There's nothing cheap in that offense. This dude reads it and rips it over and over and over and over again. I think he's special.
You know what's interesting too is like Zach Taylor's a massive departure from that coaching tree. Like the McVay Shanahan coaching tree, those guys are all play action heavy.
Yeah.
To get the quarterback,
Maybe he would be if he didn't have Burrow, though. Have you thought of that?
It doesn't make sense to me. If you can make Brock Purdy look like Brock Purdy's looked like, why wouldn't you give Burrow some layups as well? Don't make Burrow have to do all the work all the time. And I get what he's saying. Like, we like him reading defense. We like him getting through those progressions. Why would we put his back to the defense? For me, it's just about giving him some more layups. You saw it with Jake Browning. Their play action went way up last year when Jake Browning was under center, and they had really good results. So, not to get too sidetracked there, but it is fascinating that Zach Taylor is such a departure from that coaching tree. All right, my next pick, I'm going CJ Stroud here. And I know you and I have both commented extensively on the flaws and him getting away with a lot as a rookie. I think maybe the success he had as a rookie was a little overblown by the media, but I still think he's 22 years old and he put enough on tape last year to give me a ton of confidence that he's a dude. Ability to read defense, throw with anticipation. The anticipation stuff for me is so critical. Like he can own the middle of the field. And I think that's really in the modern NFL where you're seeing a lot of saggy cover 3 and a lot of saggy, quarters and cover 6 and rotating safeties. Like being able to dominate the middle of the field is where you win in the modern NFL. So I love it. I love what he brings to the table. He's my guy at pick number 4.
This is where it's going to get a little bit hard for me, not because I'm not just going to follow my board, but because I have a feeling that the way my board stacks versus the way that your board stacks, I'm going to have a disproportionate amount of quarterbacks. But I'm just going to follow my board, and I'll give everyone my full top 10 once we're done. Sure. But if I'm truly following my board, my highest rated guy is Justin Herbert, and I'm not necessarily drafting against you. That's not my purpose here, right? Because if I was drafting against you, I know that I could get Justin Herbert later on. I know that you're not a big Justin Herbert guy. I am, man. I think he's got all of the physical gifts necessary to be a truck, and I think the Chargers have failed him more with coaching and weapons than I have it's anything to do with Justin Herbert. And I'm excited to see what this looks like moving forward with Harbaugh. And I just think that there's just nothing he can do. He's had big moments. He's clutch. He can throw haymakers, man. Like, to me, he's a really special talent. And he was my number 4 guy. So I've got my 1, 3, and 4 at this point.
Nice. We've hit my thoughts on Herbert on the show before, so I don't want to rehash that too much, but I think he's a coach killer. Hoping Harbaugh gets the best out of him, but we will see. Super talented guy. My next pick, I'm going with the first non-QB in the draft. Any guess at who it is? Remember too, I'm analytically minded, so I'm focusing on valuable positions I really value versus, I'm not taking a running back, for example.
I think it's a wide receiver.
It's not.
Oh, is it a pass rusher?
It's not.
Oh, I know who it is. It's Penei Sewell.
It's Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell will be my next pick here at pick, number 6? Yep. Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, Detroit Lions. Obviously, he's had all the success at right tackle so far. I think he's the best right tackle in the NFL. Lane Johnson obviously makes a case for that still. He's just a little older. Penei's, he's 23 years old right now, Joe.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
It's insane. He's already that good at that age. He's only going to get better. I think he can play on the left side also. So if we're talking cornerstone draft, I think you can slide him over to the left side perfectly fine, and he's awesome.
Yeah, I had him down. I knew I wasn't going to get him, but I want you to know that he was on my list. See, I got quarterbacks left. I'm going to skip a quarterback.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick a non-quarterback here. So I'm not following my board. My second highest guy is Justin Jefferson, wide receiver, Minnesota Vikings. You talk about taking over games. Obviously, the NFL is telling us how valuable the wide receiver position is with what they're paying them. It's the market is accelerated there, and I just think Jefferson's he's a problem, man. He's just absolutely a problem, and gets open, catches a football inside, outside. There's just no limitations to him. I think he's true superstar. So,
yep,
he's my pick.
Yeah, I like it. Jefferson he was 10th on my board, so he made my top 10. So I would have drafted him at some point here, no matter what. Love what he brings to the table. Talk about route running, getting open, separation, but he also has elite body control and ball skills and can win. He can pretty much win no matter what the circumstances are. Double covered, tight window throws. He owns the boundary. Like his work on the boundary is just absolutely ridiculous. So I think he's awesome. I have one receiver higher than him, and that will be my next pick at pick number 8, and that's Jamar Chase. I think Chase just offers more from an explosive playmaking standpoint. I think he's a little bit more of a math changer. His ability to win vertically and after the catch, just making it's such an elite package to work with, where it's not just route running and being a possession type guy. Like he can win big a variety of ways. So his work after the catch is just unbelievable. Really like it. His contested catch ability. He honestly reminds me of a prime Stephon Diggs in a lot of ways, where he plays much bigger than his size, but he's developing as a route runner. He wasn't a great route runner when he was drafted, despite going 5th overall, but he's getting there. Like the chops are coming along, so I think he's as complete of a package as you will find.
All right, my last pick again. I'm just going to skip over this quarterback. I'm going Nick Bosa, edge rusher from the 49ers. He's the young, I have very closely rated a bunch of edge rushers.
Yeah.
Like Watt, Garrett, Bosa. My qualifier for Bosa was he was the youngest. So that's why I picked him. But I wanted to make sure at some point in this draft I got a pass rusher. So I got the best young one that I liked.
I feel you there. I have, Bosa was, he's in my top 10. I like Nick Bosa. I mean, there's one guy I would have taken before him, I think, but as far as edge rushers, but he's, like you said, they're closely rated. Similar to the wide receiver. Like you can make an argument for Jefferson, Chase, CeeDee Lamb. Like you can make an argument for all those guys to be drafted over another. Like Nick Bosa, same. Like him, Parsons, Myles Garrett. They're all right there to me. So TJ Watt. But the youth definitely stands out. I think, if he gave you a little bit more in the run game, I think he would be my top guy at edge, but I just little to be desired there. So my last pick, Dallas Cowboys edge rusher Micah Parsons. I think he's probably the most complete edge defender in the league. He's 25 years old. I considered Myles Garrett there as well, but Garrett's 28 going on 29 already. So I'm gonna take the youth. And I know Parsons is a little crazy, potentially a little bit of a screw loose, but I don't know. I'm looking past that for what he brings you. Pass rush win rate, top of the league, awesome in the run game. I mean, he's phenomenal. You can use him a variety of ways. You can use him on stunts and delays and blitzes. He can play off the ball linebacker a little bit. Love all that stuff. Love the versatility. So Micah Parsons is my last pick.
So you got my 2, 6, 11, 10, and 14 players.
Wow.
I got my 1, 3, 4, 7, and 8.
See, I got my 2, my 4, my 5, my 6, and my 7. So our boards were a little different, Joe.
Yeah, well, that should be right. We're two different human beings. We should have different thoughts on things. I'd be happy to give my full board.
Yeah, go
Here
for
it is. And this is I lied. I had 17 players that I considered. So this is them in order: 1, Patrick Mahomes; 2, Josh Allen; 3, Joe Burrow; 4, Justin Herbert; 5, Jordan Love; 6, C.J. Stroud; 7, Justin Jefferson; 8, Nick Bosa; 9, Myles Garrett; 10, CeeDee Lamb; 11 was Penei Sewell; 12, Marvin Harrison Jr., 13, Jamar Chase; 14, Micah Parsons; 15, Aiden Hutchinson; 16, Max Crosby; 17, TJ Watt.
Who's your first non-QB on your board?
Jefferson.
And he was what number?
7.
Okay. Was Penei your top O-line? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. I didn't have another. Yeah, he's the only offensive line. I just valued the edge rushers, I guess. I mean, honestly, this bucket of Jefferson, Bosa, Garrett, Lamb, Sewell, I mean, you could flip them in any order, and I probably wouldn't fight you.
My top 15, I think we have a lot of the same players, actually. It's just in different order. I don't know. You tell me. Patrick Mahomes, 1. Josh Allen, 2. Joe Burrow, 3. C.J. Stroud, 4. Penei Sewell, 5. Micah Parsons, 6. Jamar Chase, 7. Which is funny because I actually took Jamar Chase before Micah Parsons in the draft. But Sauce Gardner at 8. I do value that cornerback slot quite a bit.
You value corners that hold a lot. That's cool.
Buffalo fan. Nick Bosa, 9. Justin Jefferson, 10. Lamar Jackson, 11. Myles Garrett, 12. Aiden Hutchinson, 13. CeeDee Lamb, 14. And I did lie. I did have a second offensive lineman. That's Tristan Wirfs at 15.
I thought about Wirfs and I thought about Lamar Jackson. So those are the two different players that we had. So we wound up having 19 different players in consideration for this Cornerstone project. I think it just came down to order, right? Like you were higher on some of the guys than I was. I was a little bit more eager on some of the quarterbacks, obviously. I mean, I had Herbert, I had Jordan Love on mine. You had Lamar. So I like the project. I think it was a good thought exercise.
I agree with you. And I clarified earlier too, like, I probably would go 10 straight quarterbacks if I really had to do,
right.
If I was starting a franchise for every team. So,
right.
Yeah, I thought that was good.